projectiles. You fire the gun, it goes out there, hits the target, or it doesn't. Okay? So the gun envelope isn't a donut, it's just an area around the target. You have the maximum range out here, okay, in the front. For most gunshots in an F-16, it's probably somewhere around 4,500 feet, and in the rear it's probably somewhere around 2,500 feet. But again, there's no min-range because it's just a bullet. Anywhere in there you could shoot the gun and hit him. Now you got to realize if you're taking a shot really in close, you can end up wearing part of his aircraft, you know, if you hit him, you know, and I've seen that on the dart. You know, guys hit the dart inside 1,000 feet and pieces of the dart, you know, rain all around their aircraft. So you got to be careful, but there's no arm in that. The bullet will still kill them. Might kill you too, but the bullet will still kill them.
We have just covered terms and definitions used to define the geometry of air combat. We have discussed three basic types of geometry: positional geometry, attack geometry, and the weapons envelope. Positional geometry is the angular relationship between two aircraft and consists of angle off, range, and aspect angle. Attack geometry consists of the pursuit options that can be taken by the offensive fighter. These pursuit courses are lag pursuit, pure pursuit, and lead pursuit.
Even 75 years since the conclusion of World War I, names such as Newport, Spad, and Fokker and von Richthofen bring back vivid images. It was the birth of fighter aviation. As the war began, the aircraft was used only as a scout. Opposing pilots actually waved as they passed. But this courtesy ended the day one of the pilots pulled out a pistol and fired at the other airplane. This, of course, led to handheld rifles, then flex-mounted guns, and ultimately to the fixed forward-firing machine gun. Once the gun position became fixed, the aircraft became the aiming device. And through necessity, basic fighter maneuvers were born. So when Pete talks about Lufberries and Immelmans, those aren't just arbitrary titles. They're the names of the men that invented the maneuvers. Finally, lest you think these crates were simple to fly, consider this aircraft, the Sopwith F-1 Camel. It's a matter of record that it shot down more enemy planes than any aircraft in the war. However, it's also a matter of record that more pilots were killed learning to fly than died at the hands of the enemy.
We just talked about basic terms and definitions. Now let's talk about offensive BFM. Here are the offensive BFM DLOs. Given an initial position of advantage, okay, given you start behind the guy in an offensive position, the first objective is to maintain 3-9 line. You know, that's pretty intuitive. Okay, we start behind him, let's stay behind him. Well, what is 3-9 line? And we should define some terms. As you guys know, fighter pilots talk in clock positions. Yeah, got 12, we got 6, you know, check 6, those kind of terms. We also got 3 and 9. If you draw a line between the 3-9 line, we talk in terms of 3-9 line all the time. Is the guy in front of your 3-9 line? Is the guy behind your 3-9 line? Okay, so the DLO here is given that you start behind him, stay behind him. You know, it's a reasonable objective, you know. Okay, now once you stay behind him, shoot him. You know, you don't have to fly an air show back behind at 6 o'clock. The guy looks back, yeah, that's some good flying you're doing back there. You know, we want to make a shot. You want to get into a position and shoot a weapon. So that's the next DLO. Give it, maintain 3-9 line, then shoot. The last one is if you can't do 1 or 2, then get out of there. You know, leave, separate, because, you know, again, you know, you're in a bad spot if you're not shooting somebody. A lot of discussions. I always like to start my offensive discussions by dispelling a couple myths. Everybody wants to think in terms of, okay, the bandit does a move, okay, and I need a move. Okay, well, let me look through my cards. Okay, the bandit does a right-hand turn. Okay, 10 degrees nose low. Then I do a rat's ass shimshay. Okay, yeah, that's the counter. You know, but you really can't think in terms of a chess kind of thing. You know, where a move. Okay, then there's this perfect counter move that this doesn't work that way. It's a fluid thing where the bandit does something and now we got to always be maneuvering our nose and you know from out there flying that that's just the way it works. There is no set situation that always is the same. The other thing we have to note is that you know, BFM costs energy. When you move your nose in a fighter, it costs you energy. The two are related. The object of BFM is exchanging energy, which is aircraft altitude and airspeed. okay, for nose position. That's what we're trying to do. We've got the jet flying along with a certain, Mach on it, certain amount of knots, smash on the jet. We've got a certain amount of altitude. Now we're going to exchange that. We're going to spend it to move the nose. Okay, it's going to cost you. Now, when you go straight, you can gain it back. But there's a relationship between the two. The other thing you have to note about BFM is it's not flown in the present. BFM is flown in the future. You don't fly to where the aircraft is. You've got to fly to where he's going. And there's some steps to flying BFM in the future. Those steps are pretty much observe the bandit, see what he's doing, predict where he's going, maneuver or fly the jet based on this prediction, and then when something changes, as it will, react to that change. So those are the steps, observe, predict, maneuver, react. And they're subliminal. I mean, they're not on the surface. You don't write those on your lineup card, go, okay, what's next, okay. Predict, look down and, oh, shoot, I dropped my lineup card. Now I'm in big trouble. No, but it's good to note that, though, that it's flown in the future and you've got to go through these steps, okay. Let's talk about BFM problems. Why? Offensive BFM, we're obviously going to talk about maneuvering the jet and those kind of things. But the reason we are is because, if we had, just don't picture a Falcon here, picture United Flight 232 to Denver, okay? And here we are out here in our F-16. And we look at him and we think, man, I'll take a shot at that guy. So we pull up behind him, and if he doesn't see us or react, we have no need to do any BFM, right? We don't need to do anything, right? He's flying along, we just get behind him and shoot. The reason you need to do BFM is because if this is, instead this is not an airliner now, this is a fulcrum, and he sees you and turns, he will create BFM problems. Instantly by me turning, you see heading crossing angle build, you see aspect changing, you see range changing. Those are the BFM problems that are created by a turn. Bandit turns, we got to solve our problem. The way we solve a problem is we turn. Bandit turns, we turn. Okay? How do you turn? There's two things. It's how you turn and when you turn that count, as you know from flying. You can go, okay, Pete said to turn, and I've seen this. I've seen this burn in JP4. I've seen it in simulation. I've seen it everywhere. A guy says, ready, ready, go. He turns, and if you don't turn at the right place, if you just say, okay, turn. Oh, man, that didn't quite work. Yeah. I knew I should have stayed awake past just the turn part. So we're going to teach you, kind of how, not only, how to turn, but when to turn. But first, let's talk about turns themselves, because turns are important. If you're not at corner airspeed, the turn dynamics are quite different. What corner airspeed is this airspeed in the jet where you can turn the quickest, tightest turn. Okay, in an F-16, that's about 440 knots. Okay. Turns have two things associated with them. They have rate, that's how fast you move the nose. They have radius, or how tight the turn is. Those two things. I thought it'd be interesting to take a look at Falcon to show you the effects of one aircraft pulling about 6 to 7 Gs at 450 knots. That's right at corner, right? Okay, you started the turn right here. You ended it right there. And you could take a look at, again, his rate and radius as he makes the turn. The next guy I'll show up here turning, he's at 550 knots. He's 100 knots above corner, and you can take a look at where his rate and radius is carrying him. Much farther out. Okay, he's all the way out here. And also you would note, if we took a look at this thing, this guy started here, got all the way around the corner to about here. In the same time, it took this guy starting in about the same place and getting to right about here. So 100 knots of airspeed difference makes a big difference in radius. But just as important, it makes a big difference in rate also. You're just not moving the nose. I might also note that these guys were both at the same G. So they're both suffering equally. Because G is you suffer under G. But one guy's not doing too much at all for the amount of suffering he's doing, and the other guy is moving the airplane around. So it's very important to be at the right airspeed, right at corner airspeed when you do this. Okay. Those are turns looking up from above. Now let's take a look at a vertical turn. Vertical turns are different in many ways, primarily because we've got gravity. Okay, so what gravity tends to do is flatten out the turn on the back side, and up at the top side you'll notice you can get a much tighter radius and a much better rate. And this is what fighter pilots call the energy egg. It looks like an egg. Okay, because you get a much better turn up here at the top, and you have a much worse turn here at the bottom, and that becomes important.